Happy Tuesday, March 15th. Anthony, how are you doing?
What is it? I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. If it's 5 o'clock in London, that means it's time for No Vacancy here in New York. It's 12 o'clock. How are you, man?
I'm in London.
Guess what today is, Anthony?
What is today? 600 show.
Yes, it is our 600th episode of No Vacancy. Boom, look at that special overlay that we have.
Who did that?
To us, that would be Dr. Producer Suzanne, who I will not bring on because she has not yet gotten her hair cut, which is happening later today.
Is that what she said?
Yes. So she's very excited for that. Now she's messing with her hair backstage. That's pretty funny. All right, so Anthony, it is really great to see you today. How are you?
I'm doing good, my friend.
Awesome. I want to know a couple of things to say. Number one, everybody, if you're going to be attending the Hunter Hotel Investment Conference, well, we're going to be doing a meetup, myself partnering up with the good folks over at Hotel Effectiveness. Unfortunately, Anthony's not going to be in Atlanta, but for those of you who are, go to hoteleffectiveness.com/hunter-cocktail-reception. Sign up, join us. You'll get to hang out with myself, have some cocktails. The team at Hotel Effectiveness should be a lot of fun.
When is it?
It's a great question. That would be Tuesday at 6:30. Next Tuesday at 6:30. Thank you for telling me that.
You're welcome, my friend.
Yeah. Also, Anthony, a little surprise for you. Are you ready?
What's that?
Are you ready for this?
What?
Well, we got ourselves an advertiser for the next month leading into AHOA, and that's our friends over at Ideas. I don't know if you guys know them, but Ideas is a pioneer in global technology focused on revenue management solutions for businesses such as your hotel company. They've been in business for 30 years. They invented the technology. They were the first ones in the market. Go check out our friends at ideas.com. All right. Should we get into today's show, Anthony?
I'm excited about today's show because today's show, it's a very creative idea, something I actually been farting around with, but haven't done anything with. So I'm excited to hear.
Cool.
I'm excited to hear it.
Well, I'm excited too. I've just been farting. I've been awfully gassy lately. I wish I had some good ideas, though. But what are you going to do? Maybe by the end of this, I'll have one too. So let's welcome to the show, Mr. Peter Ricci.
Hello.
Nichols back again. Peter, of course, is Director of Hospitality and Tourism Management Program at FAU, while our friend Jeremy Nichols is a recruiter over at Gecko Hospitality. Jeremy, we were at the Click conference last week. One of your brethren were there. I kept hoping I was going to see you, but
I know.
Hard to get you out of Florida, isn't it?
It is. And it was my daughter's 4th birthday, so we were hanging out in Disney World. So
that's
a good
really
excuse.
Sweet. Oh,
Yeah.
No excuse because I was at Disneyland on Friday. So sorry, you could have brought her to that,
Yeah. No Elsa, no Anna there. So I don't know about that.
Actually, I was in California Adventure and I saw either Elsa or Anna. I don't know which one, sorry, but I definitely saw one of them. So, guys, I'm excited today. We're going to be talking all about what's going on in hospitality, what's next when it comes to hiring, all of that kind of stuff. Anthony, you got anything that you want to throw in there to start?
No, I think the first thing we have to admit, as I was getting on, I had just come from an appointment. So I was getting on a little bit late and I heard you guys talking in the green room. And I think we have to be honest about that as we go forward. And what you were discussing, and I can relate, is that everyone's tired. And everyone's like, okay, COVID's over. And now you got what's going on in Europe and in Russia. And people are just tired. And I think before we move forward and we talk about what we're going to do to help others, I just hope everyone is taking time to really do something different. You can walk in the forest, you can do, you can work out, but we've all hit a wall.
Yep.
And I really think, the wall I hit, I'm breaking through little by little every day. And it's really important that we kind of take time out, especially being older, especially the four of us here who are not in our 20s. So as we go forward, I just hope everybody that's listening understands that wall you're hitting. Half the time people are faking it when they show up at work. They put a smile on their face and they're walking through the hallways.
That was a good time.
They're doing everything for everyone. But at the end of the day, make sure you reach out. Make sure you say, how you doing? Make sure you shake somebody's hands, look them in the face and smile. it's really, we're all in this together. And so when I heard you guys talking about that, I just thought it should be, I should communicate that.
Yeah, that's a really great point, guys. Jeremy, we were talking about that. I am pooped. I am wiped out. Anthony, over the last 2 years, and we are right at that 2-year mark that we've been doing these broadcasts daily, we talked a lot about being a marathon and all of that. And it feels we're still in it. We might see the finish line down there, but it still feels
intense.
But
you know what? This is just me. This is how I look, right? I had a personal issue the last 2 weeks that, thank God, everything worked out. It was fine. Mm-hmm. Everybody's good. Okay. I had a friend yesterday that told me, thank God his daughter's test came back and she doesn't have cancer. Right. There are some people, like you said, we're getting to the finish line. Well, there's some people through the COVID that didn't get to the finish line. Right. So it's not the finish line. It's the process. Is every day that we wake up. And, it's not something, it's something I talk about a lot. And it's not like my philosophy. It's just what gets me through and having gratitude. It's not the finish line. Because you may not get there, right? What is the finish line? So I just think it's very, very important that we just all realize whatever you feel like, oh, we got through that, you turn around and there's something else that you have to get through. We're all alive long enough to know that. So enjoying the moment of every single day. I've been crying a lot lately every time I'm near my kids. Like every time I see my kids, I'm crying. They're like, why are you crying so much? I said, oh, no, I just like to see you. Yeah. They're all so busy, they're older and everything. So I just think that that's an important thing that you can fake it to a certain point, but we all need each other.
Yep, absolutely. Jeremy, you want to take it from there?
I love everything you just said, Anthony. You're spot on. I think it ties into what we're seeing in the hiring market too. Like people are talking about how it's hard to find talent. Well, a lot of talent are just tired, and in order to get them, maybe there has to be a level of empathy and understanding. And yeah, a lot of us are just burnt out and tired. And people that were on property that were not furloughed were overworked, and the people that were let go were stressed out. So it's just universal right now.
Yeah, I agree. I just think, it's funny. Somebody 2 weeks ago said, you guys are always beating the dead horse with labor. I said, no, it's not a dead horse. I said, life is going. This is a new day, and we don't know. There is no finish line. I love what, what Anthony said. There is no such thing. It's just a new day. This is how it is. I think what happened is, COVID did a reset on our psyches. We'd rather be with family, and we'd rather have quality time, and we'd rather work remote and enjoy life a little more. And then comes the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and it illustrates more how precious life is. And hospitality as an industry needs to change. I mean, I had a lovely chat 2 weeks ago with Chris Nacetta for the certificate that we're doing now. And we were going to chat for 20 minutes. It wound up being like an hour and something, because we were just both in agreement that everybody's going to want to travel. As fun, there's different silos. There's the human stuff going on. We're talking about travel, hiring, and so on. So travel's going to continue. It's going to, there's parts of the world that are still so underdeveloped where it will boom. It's going to move and change. His suggestion to me, which I really liked, is that I emphasize to young people just entering the business that COVID was a one-time, strange, once every centuries type of thing that reset us, but that we have to move beyond it, and they have to see the industry for the love and excitement that we get out of it. Well, the love and excitement that we get out of it, we're tired right now as a population. So I don't get as excited as I used to a year coming to work. I'm dealing with more issues. I mean, here in our state university system, everybody wants to snap their finger and have the students right back inside the classroom. They don't want to come back to the classroom like they did before. The pendulum is not swinging full way back. Hybrid, video, chatting with me on FaceTime. These are all the ways everybody wants to operate now in some semblance. So it's just different.
I've been saying this for a long time, and people have heard me say it for many years. And Gary Vee just put out a video that's getting a lot of internet exposure. And he says the same thing I've been saying for a long time. You have one goal. Wake up happy. That's your goal. It's not money. It's not power. It's not access. Wake up happy. And there's some people now are getting criticized because they wake up happy in their pajamas and go to work, and they have their coffee, and then they go work out, and then they maybe take their wife to lunch, and then they go back to work. And if you look at Google and the Facebooks and technology, they've been doing that for their employees forever. You go to Google, it's like going to Disney World, right? They got bikes and they got exercise equipment at the desk, and they got all kinds of food, and they're trying to make the environment like a home. They've been doing it for a long time, right? So that's what we just have to focus on. Not we have to get through it. We have to tomorrow. My goal is to wake up in a good mood. That's it. That's simple. And what I find recently, which really helped me, is I've been calling on people more than I've called on people in a long time. I don't typically pick up the phone and just talk to people. I do it with Glenn. He's probably one of the only people. But this week and the last 2 weeks, I've been checking in on people, and that makes me feel better. So it's actually selfish because it's making me feel better.
Good. I have not been doing much of that. But then again, I'm terrible for talking to people when there's not a microphone stuck in my face. So, Jeremy, with all these changes that are taking place, I'm hearing stories of in New York City in particular, both President Biden and our new Mayor Adams is trying to get people to come back to work in the offices. And they're saying, no, we just don't want to do that. Now, when you're talking about Wall Street or some other businesses where you sit in a cubicle all day, that's fine. But here in the hospitality industry, you have to be in the building most of the time. So where are we at right now? We're calling this episode Beyond the Labor Crisis, but it seems to me an entirely big reset that's happening. We have to fundamentally think absolutely everything. So where are we today? How do you see it?
Everybody's been hearing the term, the Great Resignation, right? Yep. I don't really think it's that.
Not so great, by the way.
It's like, to me, it's kind of piggybacks off what you're saying. It's like the great upgrade. Everybody just wants to upgrade what in their mind is an upgrade. When I get candidates coming to me, most candidates don't want to do a lateral move. And if they're a DOS and they're looking for an opportunity right now, maybe they're on property and they want to have hybrid. Or if they have hybrid, they want remote. Like if they're a senior sales manager, they want to be a director, like director of operations, they want to be a GM. I don't want to say every, because that's a broad stroke, but most candidates do want an upgrade of something. They want more salary, better hours, less hours. So that's what I'm seeing with all candidates. So like when employers are looking for talent right now, it's the same 2019 mentality where they want those requirements. They have to have at least 5 years of this. They have to have this many years experience. They have to have the same title. They have to have I need.
Right.
But it's most candidates, they have to be understanding that a lot of this talent wants to move up trajectory.
Right. That makes a lot of sense to me.
We just hired somebody for a GM job, and the person was never a GM before, but wanted a little bit more than the budget, and we gave it to him. And the first meeting we were on, he asked 27,000 good questions.
Right.
Every single question was a great question. And so you don't mind being a little bit more flexible with salary or experience, because he asked every question I would hope that I would ask in an interview for a position like that. So, and it's also, again, we've talked about this. It's like, we have no choice, man. But instead of seeing it in the negative, we got to see it in the light. What's happening now is good for us.
Right.
What's happening now is good for our business. It's good for our society. We're starting to realize that people are people and they're human. And when they do the task for you and you just simply forget that they exist, well, they're saying, all right, if you're going to forget I exist, that's okay. I'm still going to do the job, but I'm going to be in my house. So I don't really care if you think I exist or not. I did my job. I'm getting what I need out of it. I'm getting salary and I get to be home. So, okay, so the dynamics change. So maybe that employer doesn't change so much their behavior, that they're more empathetic, but the employee doesn't need it as much because they're home.
Right.
And they're getting what they need from their family and their lifestyle. So they're not looking for that from their boss. I think that's also a big shift, that we're not looking, I think people are realizing, and I always try to say this, the hotel business is not who I am. It's what I do. It's not who I am. And for a long time, I'd say for 20 years, it was who I was. It's no longer who I was. Doing the show, it's not who I was. Even when I was doing it, it's not who I was. It's what I did for a living. And I think that shift has happened, and I think it's the healthiest thing that can happen for us. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. Now, Peter, change is difficult. And a lot of time we have to make changes kicking and screaming, because I think part of the natural human condition is that we like things to be the same. So change is rough. Now we're forced into this change, and it's probably being led by your students that are making demands. How is this generational shift in attitudes towards the workplace affecting, do you think, future hospitality personnel?
I think the business has to change. I mean, I have people in my ear regularly that say, oh, let them know how fun it is. Let them know that it builds strength and confidence so they can do anything they want. When I tell students that, they laugh. They're like, give me a break. I can go do anything that builds confidence already, and I can do what I want. I don't need
a Etsy store, right? And then you don't have to.
I don't need to work in a hotel or restaurant for you to give me that. Those days are gone. What they want is respect. They want work-life balance. They want a living wage, and they want fair benefits. And all of those are reasonable expectations in 2022. And COVID only solidified those. So, we have a shrinking pool of people who want to work in the building, in the restaurant or hotel providing service. So we have to realize that pool has shrunk. The ones who are definitely remote only or hybrid only, they're not going to work in those roles unless it's sales, accounting, finance, digital marketing, things in the background. So let's work with the smaller pool that does want to work in the hotel business and appreciates that human spark and connection, and change the conversation from the negative to, all right, this is what we have to do. But these, it's often publicly traded companies really have a hard time how they're going to balance the bottom line, and I get that. So I've proposed having a young hotelier summit, which they do in Europe already, but I want to broaden it to a young hospitality summit. And I came across a group in Italy called the Youth Hospitality Lead or something like that. They're having a conference in Sicily in April. They have about 200 or 300 members and 600 online. And I want to move their second conference to the U.S. And I want a dialogue. I want people like, John Tish and Chris Nassetta and, the leaders of Darden and the cruise lines there for the conversation. Because
how about Anthony and Glenn? How about that?
Yeah, you can come, but it's like, I want somebody who's hiring right now for an onboard employee that has to be on board. Listen to them. And what do you want, and how do we get there? But I still need a profit.
Right.
And that's kind of. I mean, the reality is that the naysayers who want everything remote now, they have to remember we're in business to make a profit. So it's got to be in the middle ground. It can't be, I'm gonna Uber you food and I'm gonna pay you $40 an hour and you can work in your PJs. It can't be all one side. It's
right.
Got to be in the middle.
So, Jeremy, we were talking before going on air about how some people are still treating it like it's 2019, and people are resistant to change and won't admit change, even as the world has moved beyond them. How insidious of an issue is this amongst people that are hiring right now, and what can we do about it?
Ah, God, that's a lot to unpack.
I know.
Well, one thing that I'm seeing, is the pace is still like they're in shopping mode, right? There's candidates who are still waiting 2, 3, 4 weeks, doing 4, 5, 6 interviews. They're not consolidating to panel interviews. They're just spreading them up to directors. They meet a great candidate. They like the great candidate, and then they still want to see more candidates to, shop, I guess.
Right.
And then by the time they make the decision that they wanted to hire Glenn's gone. Right.
Sorry.
So we're seeing that a lot. Counter offers are just insane. So instead of if you have a range of, 100 to 125 and you go offer 100 and then you're doing the song and dance. By the time you're at the end of that song and dance, the person left, they got a counter. Also, you know, to piggyback off what Peter was saying about students and why hospitality is so great, you want to know why it's great? People are poaching our people. All the industries are coming in and taking our people because our directors of sales are great salespeople. You know, our controllers, our directors of finance, like we have so much great talent, and they can deal with stress well. They multitask, they're team players. So people or other industries are taking our people away, right? So retention is huge. And add on that, the onboarding is just as important as recruiting, more, because once you spend that time to get the person in, they've already interviewed with 3 or 4 other people.
Right.
Those offers still might come in when they're on their first week with you. And if you suck at onboarding your people and your training manager is terrible and you don't properly bring them on board, they're going to leave. They're going to leave. They're going to go to the other offer because they just started. Like, why not?
That is a great lesson. And I hope everybody's listening to that, because I haven't heard anybody say that before. That I've heard onboarding obviously is important, but I haven't heard that on the onboarding process, they still have maybe 2 or 3 offers, and it just takes one bad person that's helping them. I always say it's like I go to a college and you spend all this money on, you know, marketing to me, and then I get there and you get a kid that has a hangover showing me the property, showing me the college, and I'm like, I'm out, right? So it's the same thing. And, you know, real estate agents got smart and they're starting to really adapt to the market. Employers, it's shocking to hear they're not adapting. It's like when that homeowner comes in, right, they know there's going to be 600 different offers. So the real estate agent is peppering the owners like, listen, you're going to get 600 offers. Wait for this offer, and then, you know, don't get greedy, take it. Somebody got to talk to employers and saying, hey, man, don't be greedy here. These people, they want a little bit more money. They don't have as much experience, but you like the person. There's something you like about them. Just do it. Like, immediately move. And if they don't see that you have to move at lightning speed right now, they probably should not be in business.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because the industry, to kind of cover its behind, we had nobody. So the immediate knee-jerk reaction was to raise entry-level wages. So they raised entry-level wages to get open again and get people back. But there's nobody there in the upper echelon training them, onboarding them, taking the time to mentor them. So the turnovers become ridiculous again. So we quartered them in with higher rates, and we're losing them just as fast. And because we spend the money up front now just to reopen, we're not hiring back the middle and upper level people at the salaries they deserve. So they have to step back and say, okay, the reality is an extra 15 or 20% in labor costs. How are we going to absorb it? End of story. And then absorb it and shake out the P&Ls. They're all waiting for 2019. I heard yesterday from a guy who owns a staffing company. This year, in the first 6 months, I made more than 2019. Everybody's referencing 2019 like it's suddenly going to come back and normalcy is going to set in. It's not. There isn't going to be not the return to the way it was. It's a new day, you know?
There never is, and as we've said here on this show before, nothing is normal. There's nothing a new normal. We are on a continuum, and things always change. So, Jeremy, we're all caught up on this salary thing a lot, right? But if you want to appeal to the worker of tomorrow, today, isn't it really about creating an overall package that includes work-life balance, benefits, days off, all of these types of things? Yet somehow I feel we're still just talking about the money part.
Yeah, I mean, salaries always the first thing people are going to think about. Like, well, not first thing, they're going to think about work-life balance, of course, and benefits. But I think it's just the overall experience too. Like they're paying attention to how they're treated during the interview process. Like even like whoever they're interviewing with, like if they're having a bad experience or the interview feels rushed, or just the things that I'm still hearing is wild. And I feel like that again, I say the word empathy, but like hiring managers and leadership need to really understand that like it's the candidate. I know we're saying the candidates market, but it really is like they run the market. And, you know, as much as you hate the housing market and how much they cost now, you can't control it. Like, it is what it is. Like, the candidates now have the ability to look for stuff that they want to do and ask for what they want. And I hear it transparently from them, since I'm a third party recruiter, since I'm a headhunter. When I used to be a corporate recruiter. So I spent 17 years doing that. And when I was internal director of recruiting, they just told me what they probably thought my company wanted to hear. As a headhunter, I'm like working with multiple clients. So candidates are super transparent because they want me to work as their agent for them, just like I'm working for the client as their agent. So
are you noticing people more confident when they come into an interview?
100%. And being able to tell me just on the phone, not interested in that. I had a call just this morning, an hour ago, with a GM candidate who in 2019, I pulled up my requisition. I looked at his intake from 2 years ago, and I go, okay, back when we last spoke, you were looking for 100K. And the candidate said, yeah, that was then. Right now, I will need at least 135.
Right.
I'm not going to ask him why the 35K jump. That's what he's asking for. It's like the housing market. They're telling me he was ready to walk. He did for that role, right? Yeah. Because he's like, this is what I need. I have 5 other interviews. And, if you have something in that range, just give me a call.
He's got to pay the new rent prices and the new gas prices.
Yeah.
More power to him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And are they asking more in-depth questions? Are they more like interviewing you as well? Because I mean, growing up in this business, nobody interviewed me. They just were afraid to be in the office.
Right.
Now, are you finding they have more questions and they come in and they more detailed?
Oh yeah, the more confidence gives them the ability to ask things like, why is this position vacant? How long has it been vacant? How many hours are they giving a week? Is it a 70-hour work week? Because the last job that I had as an executive chef, they were doing 75 hours. What kind of hours can I have now? Is it mandatory that I do all weekends? Like the stuff that you would never hear chefs ask, because it used to be industry normal. Like all chefs, like it was like a badge of honor to have 80-hour work weeks back then. But now it's not. It's nothing. None of them want to work those hours anymore. They're walking away from it.
I agree. And piggyback, I'm getting the same kind of questions I never used to get. Can I get one-on-one time with you to career path? Can I ask what kind of stuff can I do at home? I mean, right now in our world in the College of Business, I see entrepreneurship booming as a major for the next 5 to 10 years because people want to do their own thing. They learned how to do their own thing.
Yeah.
And they just really picked up on the idea that, hey, you know what? Maybe if I drive Uber or Lyft for 20 hours a week, I can do the other 20 hours starting my clothing line, or I can do this, or I can do that. That's what changed during the pandemic. We had time to think and realize life was super important, more than me just showing up for my 10-hour shift.
That's fascinating, Peter, because what you're really saying is that whole notion of the side hustle that's been emerging in our society over the 10 years is really now front and center. It's no longer good enough for the average person to just be interested in this job that they have potential as a career, but also they want to pursue their own dreams. So how then do we start to balance all of that when it comes to creating opportunity within the hospitality environment, but allowing them to express themselves in those other ways as well? And I'll leave it up to you guys to see who wants to answer that one. Maybe
I'm lucky because I'm in a super busy tourism area. So they can go bartend, work front desk now. A new hotel just opened on the beach in Fort Lauderdale. They started front desk agents at $19 an hour. Going into COVID, that was $12 an hour. So now they can make a little more money, work part-time, and then do their side hustle of their dream. I mean, I have students who are designing clothes, making watches, making jewelry, doing videography. More power to them. We're a capitalist society. So that's why I always come back to understanding the leaders who gripe in my ear about the pay wages and the living wage. Well, you got to find a way to profitability, not the applicants, because the applicants want it. End of story. So you can do a side hustle. Glenn, you were just in Vegas. What a great city to work 20 hours, get a lot of tips, and do your side hustle.
so true. And I'm hearing people making a lot of money on tips these days, particularly as the crowds really are coming back. I also think that we've transitioned much more. We've tripled down on tipping because everywhere you go, you're being asked to do tipping. You can't even use a credit card anymore at a quick serve window without having to add your tip choice.
Yeah.
They make you feel like a punk if you hit 0, but I've never had a tip here before. Now I feel compelled to have to tip. So all of these things in aggregate, a little here, a little there, we're all like building blocks to create this fortress that's been put up around our ability to hire people, I think. So Jeremy, getting back to you, what do we do now?
I think you guys do a great job as you do this show regularly. But I feel like there's a lot out there, a lot of leaders out there that are just not listening and trusting when advisors are telling them what's happening. Me too. Like, I'm a third party recruiter, and I know that I know what they're thinking because I used to be corporate. So when headhunters put people in front of me, I'm thinking he's just trying to make a quick placement. But when I tell you that I'm sending you the best person for this job, you need to trust me. You need to trust Peter when he's telling you what students are telling us. You need to trust you guys when you're hosting the show every single day. There needs to be trust because we're getting it from the field and we're just trying to help. Like, it's not doing me any favors by telling you things that are difficult to hear. I don't want to have to tell you have to hire higher salaries. I don't want to have to tell you these things because it sounds like I'm being negative, but I'm really just trying to help you place this role. And there's a trust.
I can't emphasize that enough because people keep saying, oh, you're an advocate, you're an influencer. No, I'm not. I'm taking the message that these hundreds of thousands of people are giving me and trying to get you to shake yourself to listen.
But then some people tell you like, oh, you're being negative or you're being too harsh. But it's like, why do I don't want to do that. I'm trying to give you solutions. I'll tell you the problem and here's how you fix it.
Well, let's look at it this way. Right? Let's look at it this way. And I'm not going to put you on the spot by asking if this is true or not, but I'll just tell you from where I sit. The people that are pushing back, the people that are not seeing it, those are people that if you were their boss, probably wouldn't hire because they're not adaptable. They're not understanding what's happening. They're not thinking in a younger generation. They're holding on to old practices. So those people are people you probably wouldn't want to work around anyway, because if you're literally having conversations with people about the things you're having conversations with, I hate to say it, but they're just not smart people because you don't have to tell me that. I just have to be alive to see it, especially if I'm running a business. I don't need an expert to tell me those things. I just got to be alive. And that to me is fascinating that there's people in these positions of power that need to be convinced that if you have somebody in front of you that's really talented, you shouldn't hesitate. Because when you go to that house that you wanted, you see the line of 100 people. Maybe what you should do is bring the line of 50 people, in front of them and say, hey, there's 50 people, but none of them want the job. They want that job that's paying a lot more money.
One thing that pops in my mind, Anthony, is thinking about, your golden career as a GM and Jeremy working in corporate. You used to start as a busser. You wanted to be the best busser, to become a server, to become a lead server, this and that. You wanted to go do a shipboard role and then get promoted to your second contract and your third. They don't think like that anymore. They want a job to fund their dreams in whatever their dreams may be. And if hospitality happens to match that, so be it. But these old stodgy types are like, no, you're a great banquet server. Now you're a captain. That's only $2 an hour more. That's how it's always been. And follow this hierarchy that we've always done. Young people don't think like that anymore. They're looking for a way to make their dreams happen. And like you said, whether your dream's just simply spending more time with your kids and your family, you're going to go after a career that helps you do that. And if hospitality doesn't match it, so be it. If it does, excellent. But you're right, these old stodgy styles, I confront them daily among people that they just shock me. I'm happy to say it's probably the 80-20 rule where the 20 are the naysayers, but they're very loud and vocal. And the young people just aren't going to listen. I don't like to use the word young or old. Anybody's not going to listen for this new day of work-life balance, you know?
Right. Well, there always seems to be generational divides, the World War II era of people looked at the kids in the 60s and all of that kind of stuff negatively. And it's part of American tradition, but it's also that I think we get so set in our ways as adults that sometimes it's hard to reorient our thinking to what's really happening now. And typically that's where the younger generations come in. They're much more part of the zeitgeist. They understand what's happening. They haven't had to experience the world shifting away from them yet. So Anthony, let me ask you this question as a hotelier, as someone who just hired a managing director, general manager of this property. What made you go with someone who's never had that position before? Because a few years ago, we all would have been saying, well, they haven't had the experience. I'm not going to give them that opportunity.
He understood that your only goal is to make everybody around you happy. Mm-hmm. And he didn't see it. He didn't say it. Everything he was talking about was like he was a giver. And he likes boating. He likes being on the ocean. So I also know he knows how to take care of himself. So it was just something. And I really think in this business, if you don't want to make people happy, that's it's not about not only hours and taking care of yourself. It's like you have to really like a goal. Like when you start a marathon, your goal is to finish the marathon. When you're running a hotel and you walk into the door, your goal is to make everybody around you happy. That's your job. So if you're not happy doing it, then you're going to fail at it. Now, in the back room just now, everybody's writing, Anthony, smile, Anthony, smile. I don't smile sitting here listening. I'm not going to say you're going like this. I just know who I am. But I'm happy. Doesn't mean I'm smiling, but I'm happy. I'm happy to listen to everybody, and I'm happy to have this conversation. So he wasn't a big smiley guy, but you can see that his soul was wanting to take care of people and to do a good job. And also he saw that there could be growth in, having me as a reference, having the hotel, and that there was growth for him. But there was just this instinct in him. And then in the first interview, the instinct that I felt from him was true. He couldn't stop asking questions. He was annoying almost, but I liked it. It was enjoyable. At
least it shows that individual is engaged in a very meaningful way, right?
Yeah, and we also talk about. I know you said you don't want to talk about old and young and all that, and I agree with that because we are doing it too. I'm doing it now, right? Glenn did it 10 years ago, or however long he did it. Everybody is finding their flexibility, so it's not. So this isn't general. And what you said, Glenn, I agree with. Yeah. There's some part of it's generational. There's always that divide, right. But this is way bigger than a divide of generations. Right. This is human behavior changing.
Right. And also, this is why the hotel industry stopped looking at demographics and started looking at psychographics. It's how we interact with the world and perceive ourselves. So, yeah, you're right on. Jeremy, you want to throw something in there?
Yeah, just about Anthony's hire, too. I think a lot of it, as I know you're not a recruiter, but it was intuition, and you were able to probably feel those soft skills come through him, and you believed that he really cared about people. And I think that's really important with recruiting right now, instead of looking at a piece of paper and saying, okay, they have to have this, and these are everything I need to make this role. You have to be creative, and you have to look for those soft skills, and you have to be like, when I do intake calls, when we're talking about, hey, if I don't have a director of sales with 5 years experience, would you be open to somebody who's at a larger property or bigger size and scope, that is a senior sales manager that would love the opportunity? Because I'm where I am right now because people rolled the dice on me.
Right.
I don't know where I would be if Menard didn't give me a chance when I was, a regular manager on the floor. Right. Like the people in my life gave me a chance to sit in a chair and interview people, and I was trained, and they gave me the faith to do that. I think there's a lot of that. I know I'm rambling, but
if I can back up to you said something that just reminded me of something. You said, why did I think he was a good candidate? All those things lined up, but something happened. I just realized that really made me say, okay, at the end of the interview, everything was fine.
Right.
I was very direct with something that I didn't like. And he received the information. He didn't get defensive. He completely understood where I was coming from. And he thanked me for my input. And he goes, I will fix that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I was like, so I didn't realize until just this moment that probably had a big impact on my decision, on our decision, because it was just not me. There's 3 people that had to make a decision.
Right.
And it was a big impact that he received the information, and he said, I see where you're coming from. I understand that. That's a big thing for you.
You know what that is? When I was first trained, when we first trained, we didn't have questions. I worked for H&M, the Swedish company, back when they first came to the States, and they had boxes, and you had to come up with your own questions intuitively while you were talking to them. And one of the boxes was humble spirit, and that you had to have that in order to get hired. And that's what you're talking about, right? Someone who's humble, that they don't know everything. They're open to criticism and learning and growing. You saw that luckily in the interview.
And you know what? But it was also, I would have taken it as I did something wrong. I would have apologized and I would have went home and beat myself up.
Right.
So I would have been afraid that I made a mistake. I wouldn't have been upset with the person telling me. I wouldn't have been angry at all. I would have been, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And I would have been beating myself up. What I liked about him is he had the confidence to receive it and not beat himself up about it, because it's not a big deal. It's like, fix that and we're okay. And that to me was what you need as a general manager. What's the first thing we say when we hire a front desk clerk? Don't take it personally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And he didn't take it personally. And that's hard to find.
That's really hard to do. I think human beings do just tend to take things personally. So when you hear that critical, negative feedback on your personality or a thing that you do, it can be tough to get through. So pretty awesome on that dude that he did that. Peter, younger Generation Z people are in school right now. My kids are Generation Z. What are some of the qualities and features of them that you're finding that might be different from millennials and us older Gen X people?
I do. It's funny. One thing I've noticed myself changing is we've always had a hard time finding that hospitality type. I mean, it's not COVID that caused the recruitment nightmare. We've always had a hard time finding the right people. We've always been short-staffed. We've always had these issues. It just heightened it to the point where we've never seen before. So I'm noticing among younger people much more innate self-direction as to who they are and where they want to go at an early age.
Yes.
Diversity is key. I can't tell you how many of them come to me and call out companies, not only hospitality companies, but companies in general, that pretended they were doing diversity initiatives and then really didn't do much anything else except window dressing.
Right.
So they are about being inclusive, being self-driven, and being all you want to be as a human. And I applaud them. I mean, some days I wish I could just go poof and be back and start over again and try something new and different. But I applaud them for that. At the same time, when you are in that early stage of your career, you do dream a little too much as to what a company or organization or entrepreneurial day would look like.
Right.
I find them less concerned in some cases about failure, which I really like. I was always a scaredy cat in my 20 to 30 years. So I noticed some different things. It's anecdotal, you can't generalize, but I think I keep coming back to the fact that leaders in our industry need to listen. I mean, I encountered through a leader at Intercontinental Hotels Group, a GM who lost only one staff member during COVID, and that staff member was a musician who wanted to go get a gig, and he didn't lose anybody else, and went and spent time with this gentleman to learn what he did. And it was all culture, care, and letting the people thrive to be who they wanted to be, and they still wanted to be there. I think we need to do a little soul searching and listen to our applicants more. I mean, eventually what Jeremy's going through now, the fanfare of hiring will dry up at some point. So right now, while we have this fanfare, let's match the people with the roles that suit them best.
I remember when, and Glenn, you probably even tell me the show we said it on. Your memory's so good, but when everybody said that once they get rid of the benefits, everybody's going to come back to work, and we said on this show that is absolute bullshit. We had no data to support us.
All of us.
We had no data to support us, but I just knew that people weren't. And again, maybe this show allows me every day to learn so much that I didn't even realize that, my computer's telling me, based on what everybody's telling me on a daily basis, that that's crap. And it was crap.
And it was insulting.
Right.
It was insulting. A lot of people were pissed when they heard stuff like that.
Yeah. So, Jeremy, that's the truth. And that comes from that old mindset.
It's the old
were the way they were,
are
the way they were. So, what are some of the things that those curmudgeonly people that aren't making changes must know about today's workforce and the general things that they're looking for? Because just like guests, everybody wants something that's individually catered to them, but please speak in more generalizations.
Yeah. I mean, I come from, a culture where some places that I worked, there's leaders in C-suite that led by fear. People would scramble when they came on property, and they'd be like terrified. Like, why are you terrified if you're doing a good job every day? Why is it different now? Right. And it was just like that. And like I talked about the badge of honors with your hours, like people, like if you're not doing 65 hours, how many times do you hear what's the work week, or how many hours are you expected to work? It's usually 55 plus in hospitality. No one says 40 like the other industries. It's 55 plus. And I think the demographic or the leaders that are not listening to what we're trying to say is that's done. Like, people don't want that anymore. And there needs to be, even if it's like just not natural for them to change, at least trust your HR representatives or people on your team that are telling you what you need to do to make these hires. Because if you don't, you're not going to have people coming to work at your property. Your reviews are going to start to get terrible because your people aren't going to be smiling. You're not going to have anybody applying because they're going to see the same job requisition posted on Indeed for the last year. Why have you been looking for a director of sales for 6 months, 8 months, 9 months? Like, they know and they talk. And the industry, as large as it is, it's still small.
I'm sorry, Jeremy.
No, go ahead.
I was talking to my nephew who's graduating engineering school, and we're also proud of him. He just went for an interview. And in the interview, I was talking to him, and I go, maybe you stay there for a couple of years and you move on, maybe make more money. You know what he said? Because I have no interest in doing that. I want to stay with a culture and a team that's like a family, and we grow together. Because I'm not interested in chasing the money. He goes, the money will be there. I went to engineering school. We get paid well. He goes, I want to ask them how many years has people worked there. And the person that interviewed them worked there 17 years. The other person worked there 18 years. And that was really important to him. More than money, and what he wanted to make sure there was an environment that he felt comfortable in to practice his craft. So that, and he's a young guy. He's 20 years old.
Right.
22. He'll be 22 next week.
Yeah. Wow. All right. One more question for you guys before we need to start wrapping up. Glassdoor. How important is that these days? And are people that are in ownership and management positions paying attention to what's going on sites like Glassdoor? Either of you want to comment?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I could do. I think it depends on what demographic you're speaking about. The younger generation,
they got to be all over it.
They're looking on Instagram, to be honest with you. If you want to hear about company culture, they're going to go on your Instagram feed and they're going to look in your thread, and people talk, especially on Twitter and IG. That's what they're looking at. Glassdoor would be like, maybe someone in upper management that wants to see comparable salaries. They'll look at that. But I don't hear about Glassdoor as much as I used to. Right now, it's like social media. Like, that's what I'm hearing.
Peter?
I've had some students do TikTok videos about places that suck.
Oh yeah, that's another one. Yeah.
They all chat on Instagram. They send photos. If they love what they do, believe me, they're posting it as well.
Right.
And I just love that nature because 20 years back, we didn't have the social media ability to spill the beans. Again, the naysayers. Oh my goodness, how do you get them to stop posting pictures when they're all quitting your job? How about listening to the message?
Right.
How about stopping trying to put a lock and key on getting back to what we did in 1990 or 2010? I mean, come on, listen to the message. So, the industry always evolves after every crisis. Persian Gulf War, 9/11, we evolve. So it's time to evolve. I really find it difficult why there's such resistance to evolve this time, and I think it's because it's hitting the pocketbooks harder with wages. That's my only guess. But we have to get there. People are going to travel. We have to make a profit. We have to have people who smile and love it. We will get there. But what's the answer? I'm looking for the answer, not the griping and the whining.
Well, I think also employees aren't used to the employee having the microphone, right? The internet is the microphone. They're not used to having somebody else control the microphone. And if you think about it, 10 years ago, right? I saw my show 10 years ago. I couldn't broadcast myself. I need a travel channel. You go there, you have a show, they push a button, 5 million people see you. And now you don't need those channels. You push a button like me and Glenn do every day. We push a button and boom, the world sees you. Just a few years ago, that was not possible.
Right.
So I think people really don't understand. Like when you're looking at, well, people want a career, or they want to kind of be an entrepreneur, and they want to, have a side gig. The reason they want to do that is because of the technology that has been revealed to them over the last 10 years. We couldn't do that. It's not that we didn't want to. We just sat in the corner and cried that our boss sucked. And let me go to the New York Times and see if there's another general manager position available, or call my headhunting friend and beg him to put me up for the job, or pay his fee to put me up for the job, which I literally said in my book that you'll read. I actually said to the headhunter who wouldn't put me up for the job, I'll pay your fee if I don't get the job. Thank God I got the job. But so you had so many. You didn't have any opportunities. It's like you had to take your one or two. It's when you were a comedian back in the day. In order to be a comedian, what do you have to do? You have to get on Johnny Carson.
Yep.
Right? That was it. There was one slot.
Yeah, right.
Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And that's how you became. Yeah. Now, every comedian in the world has their own platform.
Now there are comedians that we've never heard of that are selling out Madison Square Garden because they've been successful on social media.
So people are not looking at that. And I'm creating something with Suzanne and some people to kind of let them understand that it's not about just bringing people to a job or to a school. It's about teaching them how to be an entrepreneur. I've said that for so long now. You have to learn how to be an entrepreneur, even if you're just going to work at the front desk 40 hours a week, because you're going to go home and on the weekends, and you're going to want to know how to do that TikTok. You're going to want to know how to make little extra cash when your kid comes. So it's changed, and it's for the better. I think it's for the better.
It is. And the past 2 years of COVID have all made us experts on using technology better than we did 2 years ago. So it's only going to get more.
I'm still not good at it.
We're all here.
Get on, right?
I'm here because Glenn knows how to push the buttons.
We're all here. Think about that, Glenn. Before our certificate, I did not have a LinkedIn account.
What?
This week I posted. I have 52,000 shares and comments. So think about that. 0 to this in what Anthony's talking about with younger people, how they gravitate to it. So that's the right answer.
Yeah. I've been wanting to teach people how to tie a tie, and I got 500,000 people watching my video. How did you get 52,000 comments on LinkedIn? What did you post?
Just about having young people's voice in hospitality. It's a hot issue. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I was glad to do it before this, because I wanted to see if it was still a hot issue. It's hot. And you're right. Everybody has their own mic and their own ability. I mean, they don't have to wait for the AAA diamonds and the old mobile travel guide. Now you got Forbes Online, you got TripAdvisor, you got Yelp, you got Kayak, and you got TikTok. So
it was really important. You said something before that I find very important as well. Most people tell you the good. Most people, like, I never go on and tell you the bad. I always tell you the good. very rarely, you have to be pretty bad to get a bad comment. And there's those wing nuts that go on and just complain about life in general. But very rarely will people go on Glassdoor or go on Yelp or go on and destroy a business or destroy a person. You have to really suck, or the other person is just, not a good person. That happens. But the majority of these comments have helped our business because it helps you get a better average rate when you're number one on TripAdvisor. It helps you get a better average rate when people are saying your rooms are beautiful. So people look at it in the negative. It's helped us tremendously.
I'll flip that for 1 second. If you think about what's going on in the job market now with the stodgy people who won't listen, it's the same type of GMs and restaurant owners and leaders that hated when TripAdvisor came out, because all they did is have an answer. No, that's you. That's not our running. No, that's not you. It's the same idea. You just need to listen to the collective voices. I always say, if it was 10 people saying something, okay, but if it's 1 million, there's a story there that means something.
I did a show upstate somewhere, and this gentleman, he was quiet. He was a writer. He used to write for the Post or something, and he seemed like a very nice person, very humble. And then I read his comments back to his guest, and you saw it on the show. It was actually featured on the show if you watched that one episode. And he literally went, like, he was like crazy. He's like, this is about you, and you really need to, be a better human, and you don't know how to. I was like, oh my God, this is the same person? You're a nice person, and you get on TripAdvisor and you scream at your
Wow. All right. We got to wrap this up. Some final thoughts, shameless plugs. Peter, why don't you start us off?
Hey, a shameless plug. Come take your certificate at FAU. Anybody who watches the show, I give you a partial scholarship. I just love to do it. We just started our new one yesterday. It's our goal to help communicate to the leaders what the future of hospitality should look like, and not to say it because it's costing you money, because I want you to understand the masses. That's my plug.
It costs you money when you don't hire the right person. It costs you a lot more money.
That's right. And thank you for being so loud and clear. Jeremy?
I don't have a shameless plug. Just thank you for having me on. It's always a pleasure. I absolutely love hanging out with you guys and talking about the industry and hiring. And congratulations on your 600th episode.
Oh yeah, about that.
It's huge. It's huge.
Amazing.
It's a lot of episodes right there.
It sure is, and we will get started on the next 600 right after this. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Oh, and
Yeah,
can you bring it back?
All right, come bring it back.
And thank you so much for helping me. It's interesting, Peter, when I asked you, I was looking for people and I couldn't find it. And I was actually recruiting this GM myself, and I couldn't find it. And you dropped everything. You sent me emails. You sent me resumes. You followed up with me. And so thank you so much. I mean, with everything that you do, that you took the time to really pay attention and to help me, truly appreciate it.
No, that's nothing. My pleasure.
Thank you.
See you guys later. All right. So let's wrap this up. Any final thoughts, my friend?
No, sir.
I've got a thought. Our audio version of the podcast. Get on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher. You know the drill wherever you get your shows. Well, we are there for you under the No Vacancy Live banner. You can talk to Anthony directly. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. And if you want to advertise or anything else, just like our good friends over at Ideas, drop me a line, Glenn at novacancynews.com. All right. You ready? We're going to wrap this thing up today. Just remember, everybody, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
See you tomorrow with another fun show. Episode 6.